I have always been interested in how fiction can make the impossible feel real. Not just in the fiction itself, but how the real feel of those impossibilities happen behind the scenes. You're listening to Scoring Magic, a documentary about how we can make impossibilities sound real in audio fiction. My name is Will Williams. I'm a podcast critic, and it's probably not surprising to hear that my favorite medium in the podcast scene is fiction. I love hearing creators taking a space that's limited to just one sense, sound, and building things like the futuristic world of Star Tripper.
Come on.
Or the visceral psychedelic events in What's the Frequency. I've worked in sound design before, but only a little. In my undergrad, I worked at my college radio station, where I hosted a book club on air. For passages we wanted to discuss, I'd get my friends to come into the studio and act out all the lines in the narration. I'd stay up until 2 a.m. in the below-zero winter with a 30-minute walk home, just to get the sound design on them right. Don't get me wrong, they weren't any good, but I was dedicated, damn it. Ever since, for the last 6 or so years, I've wanted to make something in this space. I've written resources on making them and getting them to listeners. I've consulted on podcasts. I've given tons and tons of advice. But between working my day job, working on my podcast journalism in my quote-unquote off hours, starting grad school, getting ready for a move, etc., 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 it just didn't pan out. But I'm also me. I don't really know how to not do everything all the time forever. And that's why I had a brilliant idea. One I wanted to pass by my husband, Zach, and my dear friend, Amber. The idea started with a trilogy of novels I'd mostly written, a story that never leaves me alone, a story that Zach and Amber have both read. So, we're recording because I'm going to pitch to you. I'm like, my soul is like leaving my body as I'm saying this. Because I want to tell you two an idea I have for a project. Zach is already putting his head on me. Because I know I'm doing too much shit, but I also think it would be really fucking cool.
Go!
Half of this will probably come as no surprise.
Okay.
Please go ahead. I'm not looking at you. Please go ahead. It doesn't mean I can't listen with my ears.
So, I want to try to adapt Stable as an audio drama.
Neat.
Like, I think that's like...
Yeah!
Right, okay. That's like a long time coming, right? Like, that's inevitable.
Yeah.
We can, like, all agree.
I somehow did not see that.
I did.
Well, mostly because you haven't finished it.
But that's... Okay, but that's
The
also...
first book.
Go ahead.
You have the first book?
Yes.
And that's important. Start.
Right. And part of the reason why I'm doing it as an audio drama now instead of finishing the third book is because I don't want to be tied to that ending that I originally had planned when you adapt something and it can change so much in the iterations. And I would want to have feedback from the cast and get to know the cast and think about their ideas of the characters' progressions forward. You know, like, so much can change in that I don't want to close the end.
But don't you still want to have them completed, though? Or...
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know if it is gonna work in audio at all. I don't know how the fuck I'm gonna do it. Like, at all.
Especially.
Hey, no spoilers, chump. You're just going to have to wait for the actual audio drama for that. But let's talk a little about the story itself. I'll go into as much detail as I can for right now. Stable is an urban fantasy trilogy with some magic, some political intrigue, and lots of hijinks. It's called Stable for a plot-relevant device of the same name, but that's all secrets for now. I wrote Stable for the 2013 National Novel Writing Month, or NaNoWriMo, a challenge where participants write 50,000 words in 1 month. I'll tell you all about the nitty-gritty of that timeline, though, in episode 3. And you can probably tell that there are a few main characters you'll need to know. Liam is the protagonist. You'll hear his name a lot. Finn is a complication. Alex is Liam's best friend. Sarah and Louise are coworkers. And Riley is the antagonist. Don't worry too much about memorizing all of those names. We'll get to them in time.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Of the making of Stable. And it's called
I also-
Unstable.
So, okay, that's real cute. So, I also have problems with the name Stable for 2 reasons. 1, I wrote my story before this happened, and I want this to be on the record, that I wrote this years before this happened. There is a podcast service. I don't know what it provides because I have avoided it, and it is called Stable, missing the E.
What?
Like, it's literally, I'm looking it up right now.
That's weird. I didn't know that was a thing.
I know, it's fucked up. Okay, so it's branded, it's fucking branded content.
That's like
Also coming soon. Fuck you. Their website just says something.
Oh my god, are you
fuck
sure
you.
that Finn didn't make this website?
It just says something.
And just in the website's literally just called "We Are Stable."
I'm so pissed off. But oh fuck you. Their logo's cute.
How that is.
God damn it.
We are the
Complete podcast agency. Wow, this is. I mean, hey, it's got that Riley vibe, real on lockdown. But yeah, so it's an app, it looks like. So I obviously can't use that. And I can't use Stable with the E because that would be so bad for SEO.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't show, like, nobody would be able to find it.
Yeah.
So I don't know what I'm going to call
I
it.
just know you also don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
I don't. That's very true. And I would want help on it, like, on all fronts.
Yeah. Sorry, that's why I was trying to think
Definitely
of
here to
things to
help.
help with.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
if you try to do this alone, it will not.
Well, it wouldn't be good.
No, it would also just. Well, I mean, like alone. Besides, like casting and stuff, it's just. It's difficult.
Yeah. So that's what my October project is going to be, if I even have the time between my fucking life, is I want to try to get 1 script done.
Mhm.
I don't think that that's
One
too much.
script?
1 episode.
Oh, okay.
I think that that's doable in a month. I think that that's like, and I also realize that a lack of creative endeavors is slowly killing me. And by slowly, I mean quickly. So that's only, also brainstorm on what does magic sound like? How do I magic sound? Bling! Shoom!
I haven't listened, but does Kalila's...
No, Kalila is all narration.
No. Okay.
All narration.
Sorry, I haven't listened yet.
No, you're
It's
good,
on
you're
my
good.
List of things.
I think that each magic would sound different.
Different? Agreed.
Since you had different colors for each magic,
That's
think
what I
that
was
it would
thinking.
be like Luis,
yeah.
Luis. Yes, because he was more jovial
Yeah.
and like colorful person that wasn't scared of things. I think it's like almost like chimes
Yeah.
would be his.
And like Liam's would have to be like electricity crackle.
Yeah.
And then Finn's maybe would be something a little whistly. So Finn's is the sound of a garbage truck.
I just imagine his being like the, you know, in Brooklyn Nine-Nine when he's playing the guitar and then he just wails. That's
Accurate.
magic sound.
Accurate. Wait, okay. So it's only half of my idea though.
Okay.
Mhm.
So the other half is what we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want to make a sort of documentary style podcast
About making a fiction podcast?
Yep. Going through every single step of the process. Going through the writing, going through the conceptualization, going through the casting process, going through editing, going through literally all of it until when it comes out. I think it would be such a useful guide for people for what to expect, whether it's like, hey, writing in a script format is really fucking weird. Here's what I've learned. Or if it's like, hey, actually, I hate being creative and here's imposter syndrome and I'm upset. Or if it's like, here's how to run auditions, or here's my experience with auditions, things like that. Which I know that these two projects are a lot, but I think it would be good. I think so.
So I started writing. And in that month, October 2018, I did it. I got my script done. And then I started writing for a pretty big publication for podcasts. And then another. And then I was writing for one of them weekly. And I was also writing my standard reviews and doing a weekly newsletter and doing weekly roundups of everything that I listened to and grad classes and writing for the sites I'd already been writing for and producing another podcast and helping curate a conference. And then something else happened. I broke. I just kind of broke. I was feeling full-on burnout, and it was bad. It was bad enough that it forced me to look at everything I was doing, evaluate what mattered most to me and what was just making my life difficult, and make some hard decisions. I found that it wasn't just that I was doing too many things. It was also that I wasn't doing some of the right things. That story, those books I'd written, they still wouldn't leave me alone. They wanted to be something more than they were. They wanted to be what they were supposed to be, and I'd been ignoring them. But I was tired, and I was still pretty broken. I was too close to the story to see how it needed to be changed to reach its potential. I felt like I was at a loss, like I'd just be doomed to this frustrating cycle of wanting to create and knowing I couldn't. Here's what's great about being a professional podcast critic. You listen to a lot of podcasts, and a lot of podcasts are made by really smart people. As if hearing my frustration and anxieties, Joseph Fink and Jeffrey Craner released an episode of their podcast, Start With This, about collaboration.
What is the value of collaboration?
I think for me, I think some of it is self-confidence. Is the idea of needing somebody to kind of tell you what's good and bad. It's somebody to kind of help you. If you're cooking, it's nice if you can have somebody there to taste it and make sure it tastes fine, because you get caught up in your own process and you feel like I have one of two gears when I write things, which is, holy cow, this is amazing. I'm the best writer that ever lived. And the other is like, I'm garbage. Like, I'm an absolute garbage writer and I don't know what I'm doing. And so it's nice having somebody else to temper that, because nobody's ever going to tell you, like, a reasonable person isn't going to tell you you're the greatest writer of all time. And a reasonable person will never tell you that you're a garbage writer, that you're bad at something. And so there's always like much closer to those kind of ups and downs in the middle of helping you find the voice. People who are good at collaborating want you to be better all the time.
It made me remember what I told Zach and Amber back in September 2018. I couldn't make this audio drama alone. And even if I could, I knew I needed some outside help.
Create is feel is good, and have friends is good feel.
All of these are true.
Hi, I'm Katie Yeomans.
You're not wrong.
Hi, I'm Ann Baird.
Create is feel good.
Create is happen, and friends good feel is it. So then I figured that.
And I asked them to join me on this adventure. We decided to call this podcast, this documentary, Scoring Magic, an ode to us trying to find what magic sounds like, trying to find its score, but it's also an ode to how scoring dough helps the bread rise. Like how we want to help this podcast rise from the page, from the actors, from the collective efforts of everyone involved, to create the right shapes and evoke the right scenery when you listen. And also, like, score, like, hey, we're doing the dang thing, yeah. You can hear more about the importance of bringing on creative partners in the next episode of Scoring Magic. And you can hear the whole process of us working together on this unnamed audio drama, start to finish, every other week. We're going to share with you the highs and lows of creating. We're going to share our honest fears alongside our exciting successes. We're going to share tips, guides, resources, and tools that we use along the way. Join us every other week as we figure out what magic sounds like here on Scoring Magic. Scoring Magic is brought to you by Hug House Productions. The music in this episode was Gold Can Stay and The Gold Lining by Broke for Free. We also used Thinking Music and With a Creation by Kevin MacLeod. You can find all of those linked in our show notes. In our show notes, you can also find a link to our Patreon, a link to Start With This by Night Vale Presents, a link to What's the Frequency, and a link to Star Tripper by The Whisper Forge. Big thank you to all of those podcasts for letting us use excerpts in this. Hey listeners, so here's something fun. Because collaboration is so fantastic, we've gotten a lot done. You'll hear more about that in the next episodes, but long story short, that unnamed audio drama, it's got a name. It's going to be called Valence. Think like a covalent bond. And on top of that, we're casting. Right now. We wanted to announce it along with the first episode of Scoring Magic. We thought it'd be really fun and exciting. So if you are interested in acting for us, these positions are going to be paid, depending on success of crowdfunding and a few other variables. You can go to valencepod.com. That's VALENCEPOD. Yeah, that's spelling. .com for our casting announcement. It's going to be available through July 22nd, 2019. We hope to hear from you soon.